What's up, best friends, and welcome back to the Modern Nest Masterclass. I'm your host, Darren, the owner and proud broker in charge of Modern Nest Realty, located in downtown Concord, North Carolina. And today we're going to be talking all about pricing a home here in North Carolina. So get excited and get into it. My disclaimer, as always, I am a realtor, but I am not your realtor. You never want to share your private personal information with anyone unless you are working with that person or the agency exclusively, okay? So Modern Nest Realty agents are always available for private consultations, and you can book an appointment on our website at modernnestrealtygroup.com. Okay, so when we're talking about pricing a house here in North Carolina, most of my friends know that I'm old school, so I have to go out and see the property in person, y'all. I have to feel it, smell it, touch it, see it, hear the property in order to really be able to give you a honest range of pricing, okay? But for today's purposes, we're just going to talk about some of the things that I look for when it comes to pricing a home, okay? So, first off, you want to take a hard look at that subject property, guys. And does it have anything that would get an appraisal adjustment or that you would make an adjustment for in comparing it to other properties, right? So those things that I'm looking for, guys, are: does it have a fireplace? Does it have a covered front porch, back porch, side porch, whatever? Does it have a fenced in yard? Is there a garage? Is there a carport? Any big capital improvements or upgrades that have been done to this property, okay? So, and then I'm going to look for comps, guys, and I'm going to do that in the last 60 to 90 days first within the subdivision or within 0.25 of a mile, depending on where I'm at, okay? If I'm in the country, if I'm out in the sticks, I'm probably going to have to go out a couple miles in order to gather the data that I need to price a property, right? So, but if you're in the city limits or you're in a subdivision, guys, start in the subdivision and kind of work your way out, starting at 60 to 90 days and then going out from there. And try to find comps that are similar to the subject property, right? So if I am pricing a split level home, I really would love a couple split level comps, right? If I have all ranches or all two-story comps, it's going to be skewed, okay? So try to find things that are super similar to the subject property. For me and my rule of thumb, I really love to stay between 500 to 700 square feet of heated living area in a perfect world, guys. I know it don't always look like that. I'd love to stay between 10 to 15 years of, when the home was built in the perfect world. It doesn't always look like that, though. And so once I have found these comps, we're really going to start digging into them. And I want to know, what do the days on market look like? Okay. Is each of these comps, what is the average, right? Are they moving in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Are there certain homes that took a much longer or a much shorter time to sell? And what made those different? Okay. Have there been a lot of price reduction, guys? In today's market, if it's priced wrong, it's going to sit, it's going to go stale, and it's going to be reduced and bonus and reduced and bonus until it moves. So here in my MLS and Canopy MLS, there's a little icon. It looks like an old school alarm clock. And when you click that bad boy, it will basically show you all of the status changes to the property. So if it has been temporarily off market, price reduction, anything like that, you always want to check that out on these comps, guys, and make little notes. But yeah, is there any price reduction history? And then take note of any seller paid closing costs, guys, on the closed comps, and review that with your sellers and let them know this is what other, sellers who sold their home gave, in concessions to a buyer. That is all super, super important when it comes to pricing a home. And then you have to be real with people, okay? And that's probably one thing that I specialize in. If your house smells like cat piss, I'm going to tell you it smells like cat piss. We're going to do some steps to make it a little better, and we're going to make sure we have a great price for it, okay? When you take a product to market, guys, the price is a big part of that marketing campaign, right? If the price is way too high or, it's just off the wall, it's not going to get the activity that it needs, and your seller's going to be disappointed. You're going to be disappointed. And the best thing that happens, guys, when you price a property too high is somebody say, in a perfect world, somebody does go under contract and then it doesn't appraise and then you settle it out later. And that's not what you want to do. That's not how you want to lead your seller into a real estate transaction, okay? And now, guys, sometimes when comps sit on the market for a long time, say, everything is set for 90 days or 60 days or whatever, sometimes that pricing can be delayed, if that makes sense. Sometimes you won't know because comps are historic data of the past. If you're trying to sell something today, and you have 5 comps that are all active, each of them have been up for, 45 plus days, it may be harder to pinpoint a price for today's market, right? So, just make sure that you're doing the best that you can and you're being transparent with your clients. But when it comes to pricing a property, I always say that it's as much science as it is art, right? And, but anyway, so going back to taking accountability for any damage or anything that's in the house, guys, you're going to want to do that with the price, right? Now, there are other things that you could do as far as offering, bonuses or allowances for, carpet, for painting, for repairs, what have you. But you really want to make sure that the price is attractive because, that's the milkshake that brings all the buyers to the yard, right? So, if there is any damage, of course, we want to take accountability for that in that pricing. But, friend, don't stop there. Is any of that damage going to keep you from getting a government-backed loan on the property, right? Because we all know that the most universal properties in the best condition that can take, multiple different types of loan products, they get the most attention, right? So if we have a property, let's say it's in more of a wholesale condition. When I say wholesale, that means it may not get a, conventional or a government-backed loan. It may be a cash situation or a special sort of, funding product to get it to, close. You want to tell your seller that, and you want to let them know, hey, friend, in the current condition, we're not looking hot for a government-backed loan. So if you would do X, Y, and Z, or consider doing these things, or get quotes for them, that may open up your buyer pool, to a plethora of buyers versus just a small, little niche of buyers. So I also want to share with you guys, as a strategic pricing specialist, there are 3 ways to price a property, okay? So you can price it above the market, you can price it with the market, or you can price it below the market, right? So below the market, that means you want it to sell quick. If a seller doesn't have a lot of time, they want to price it very reasonably below the market so that they can have a quick transaction. That's below the market. Pricing with the market, guys. So buyers nowadays are paying a lot more money. And I'm somebody who used to sell $75,000 3-bedroom houses, right? Buyers today are paying a lot more for a home, and a lot more goes into their decision making, right? So they may sit on Zillow for 3-6 months or whatever in their Matrix portal with their agent, checking out different homes and seeing stuff. So when they see a house pop up and it's priced with the market, but it has a wow factor or it has something different, it gets a lot of attention, right? So if I have 4 clients that are all approved for $300,000, right, and they have been pre-approved for, couple weeks, what have you, they know just about what they're seeing in the market, what they can obtain for that money, right? So if a new listing pops up and it has a pool or it has, a brand new kitchen or a huge laundry room or, something very nice and custom, that garners a lot of attention and a lot of desirability, that's where people go, right? So that's pricing with the market. Pricing above the market, guys, that's when people price their house too high, right? And a lot of people do it, but the risk of that is if you price your house 10% over where it really should be, you immediately lose 60% of the audience who could buy your home, right? So you want to make sure that you have a competitive, attractive price, and the only thing that's going to match a very high price is typically time, right? So in the best case scenario, your house may not be worth that $300,000 per se today, but it may be worth that in 6 months, right? Not saying we're going to list it and have it on the market for 6 months, beloved, but just know that, the best thing to get you more is either the upgrades and stuff like that, or it is time in the future, right? But you don't want to have your home on the market for 6 months and everybody kicking tires, to get you that price that you want. So in today's market, I definitely don't advise you to price over or above the market. Okay. You need to be realistic. And guys, you will find yourself in situations where it can be challenging to price a specific property. Or if a property has specific damage, let's say they have, a well issue or a septic issue here in North Carolina, that can prevent a lot of different financing types, right? A lot of different loan products. So you want to make sure you consider that in your pricing of the property. For me personally, guys, I don't like nines and I don't like sixes, okay, in my pricing. Now, have I priced a property with a nine or a six? Of course. But to me, sixes are the devil, and nines always make people feel like they're paying too much. And realtors will be the damn worst with the nines when it comes to, the property is 1999999, and it's unnecessary, right? The psychology of the nine is like, they round up and they see the next dollar, they think it's more expensive. So I personally try to stay away from those. And as a professional agent, guys, we always want to provide a range of pricing and a strategy behind that pricing that supports it. We don't want to just land on one number because you are not an appraiser. Okay. And you don't want to just walk in and say, hey, the house is worth, 350 or 250. You want to give a range and you want to let that seller understand the range and let them pick the pricing and you stand behind that. And of course, you want to have comps for the range and all that kind of good stuff. But, and pro tip, always keep a record of every CMA that you do and put it on a file. Put it in your file somewhere. Even if you list now or they list, 3, 6, 9 months, whatever in the future, always keep a record of that. To me, I have one of those in my file, and I always shoot a text message to the client with that CMA in it. So I know in my text message chain, it lives forever because I keep all the receipts, right? So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I hope that it helps you when it comes to pricing your property here in North Carolina. There's a lot that goes into pricing, and I know there's a lot that we didn't specifically touch on today, but this is just kind of a general overview when it comes to pricing. You want to be very strategic with your pricing. And price and condition always go hand in hand, right? So make sure that you are explaining that to your clients and that you're reviewing the comps and they understand, this price is a big marketing factor of the home and it's what's going to bring everybody out. I hope you guys have a great day and I will see you next time.